Welcome back again to part 2 of the Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast, episode number 6. I'm your host D.
This is Juice.
This is Ace.
Oh yeah, special guest A Boogie in the house.
Round 2.
Okay.
2 rounds.
So,
knock him out.
earlier this week, I'm not sure exactly which day this happened. What day did this happen?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It was earlier this week though. It was over the weekend, I think.
Good reporting, guys. So there was a kid, 2-year-old boy, named Lane Graves.
From Nebraska.
His family's from Nebraska.
See, I ain't had none of that.
Who was attacked and eventually killed and drowned by a alligator at the Seven Seas Lagoon, or in the Seven Seas Lagoon at the Grand Floridian Resort. It's part of the Disney Resort hotels in Florida. The boy was grabbed and drowned, although an autopsy has yet to confirm the drowning. They said that the body was found intact with only a few puncture wounds. What do we think about this, guys?
I think it's a horrible tragedy.
It is a horrible tragedy, but at the same time, it's like, pay attention to your kids, bruh. You know what I mean? Like,
come on.
I mean,
look, shit happens,
listen,
right?
I have sympathy for the parents. They lost their child. I'm a father. I have a 4-year-old son. I couldn't imagine my son being dragged underwater by a wild animal, while we're out on vacation. But at the same time, what was the kid doing in 2 feet of water, or ankle-deep water? There are no swimming signs posted all around the place. There's multiple reports that the signs are clearly visible. Why was he in the able to go ankle deep into the lake?
Yes. Let me just say, I do not have any kids, but these are my points. First, the child is 2 years old. Why was it? Also, let's note that it was like 9:30 at night, even though some report says 11. The other reports say it was like 9:30 at night. Why was this 2-year-old by himself in the water? Granted or not, it was 2 inches, 1 inch, however many feet of water, inches, whatever. But he should have been either in a stroller, he should have been in someone's arms, he should have been holding somebody's hand, not off by himself.
Or at least close to where the parents were.
Right.
Not, like you said, not off by himself, standing inside water with no swimming signs.
I don't think he was far off by himself. The fact is that he was close enough. So we had to report that from the father that he wrestled the gator pretty much, trying to fight his son from the gator's jaws. Pretty much is the most tragic thing. How can you imagine ever having to do some shit like that? I have a daughter, and just even imagining anything like that it freaks me out.
It's crazy.
But imagine he was close enough to be able to do that. You were able to try to fight this gator and pull his son back from it. So it wasn't like he was up the beach. He was close enough. Imagine if the gator was just laying in the water. But if he was imagine you let your son walk next to you. Or you let your kid walk. The kid's just learning to walk.
Let your son walk on that side though? Your son should have been on the inside.
I don't think they knew about gators. So that's the thing. I understand. So everybody knows that Florida has gators.
Yes.
Right?
Crocodiles too.
But imagine that you're from motherfucking Nebraska. Fuck was the last time you seen a gator? You don't fucking expect it. And when's the last time a gator has attacked anybody on a man-made Orlando resort? It hasn't happened in their 50 years of being there. So that's the furthest thing from your mind.
I don't know,
and man. I think that's pretty much what caused it to happen. It was the furthest thing from these people's mind that of all things that could have happened, a gator would drag your child into the water. So I kind of give them a pass on that. I don't think they were being negligent. I think it's just some shit that just is one of those fucking crazy things that just happen sometimes.
At the same time, even if we're on the beach, Virginia Beach, Florida, whatever, I don't go swimming at night. You know what I mean? 2 feet of water, ankle deep, knee deep. You can't see. You know what I mean? So don't let your child go stand in the water at nighttime. You know what I mean?
They said that was perfect. That was the exact feeding time for gators at any place.
I don't think it's uncommon for people to be out late at night, especially when you're on a resort, 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, like Ace was saying. I mean, people are going to be out. They're going to have their kids out. You're on vacation, There were pictures, and this is a source, is CNN.com. There were pictures of the resort and the lake edge of the Seven Seas Lagoon that they were on. And if you look at these pictures, man, I looked at them. They make it look so inviting. They have lawn chairs along the sides. It's like a beach, you know what I mean? Of course, it's man-made, but they have a sandbar, you know what I mean? They have lawn chairs.
It's beautiful.
I'm pretty sure you can probably order drinks. You know, why are people able to be out there with their kids, their children, and you know that there's an alligator threat in the water? You know what I mean?
It should have been some kind of fence. Maybe
Exactly. Like, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Like,
I think we
said
take
that
for granted.
the signs around the lagoons and everything only say no swimming. They do not say warning possible alligators.
I think now
And I
they
think
changed
that's
that though.
yeah, right.
Of
I think
course,
that's
you
going
got
to be
a kid that got killed.
That's the source of their lawsuit. So that's going to be what the lawsuit hinges upon. The fact that no swimming is not an adequate enough
Warning for alligators.
For alligators, like
But it's got to be
on-
a reason
on
that
the
you can't
beach
swim
itself.
there, 'cause
Mhm.
it's
On the
alligators.
beach.
But you
So,
need
like,
to
do you
state
need
that.
both sides,
But you don't
though?
swim in like a foot of water. You know, you don't swim in that.
The thing is with these resorts, they don't want to curb people from attending them and putting alligator warning signs around these lakes and pools or whatever.
Yeah,
With
Might
tear
deter
gas.
people from going there. Shit, they got alligators. I'm not going out that mile, you know.
but that's the response that should happen
The
because there are
signs,
alligators out there.
the signs
Obviously.
around the actual
Yeah.
lagoon only say that the lagoon is not for recreational swimming. Well, no shit, mug. You got alligators in the water. Like,
Right.
it does not for recreational swimming. You know what I mean?
Their
It's like,
reasoning.
you have to hold the resort accountable for this too. Not only the parents. Of course, they should have had an eye on the kids. The resort is just as much, if not more, to blame for this incident than the parents.
I agree. I definitely so because just saying that there's no swimming and that there's no resort is not for recreational swimming is not enough adequacy for a person who wants to go swimming. Because if somebody wanted to go swimming, they're like, oh, they're just saying that because we don't want them. They don't want us to mess up their pretty man-made sandbars.
What's to stop them
Fuck
from
that
jumping
shit.
into
I'm
the
gonna
lake?
go swim anyway.
Exactly.
Exactly. There's nothing to stop them other than just a sign saying don't swim. There's no warning that there's maybe a pending danger to your motherfucking life by a fucking gator's gonna eat you.
That's crazy, man.
Imagine though, like, I don't know, but I think I would feel a huge relief, like in a tragedy like this, that they found the kid intact. Like if I'd have found that the gator ate half of my kid, I think that would be worse.
I mean, is there really a relief in it though?
There's not.
Either way, your
There's
child
not.
is
Closure.
dead. Yeah.
It was a closure. At least you can have the body to bury, and
At least
I
your
think
child's not in
they
the
released
belly
a
of a
statement
gator,
today.
yeah.
Actually, they released a statement today that they're just gonna. They don't want to answer any questions. They don't want to talk to anybody. They just want time to mourn. They have the child back, and they're just gonna have their funeral. They just want, they want to be, they want the time to process.
I couldn't imagine that shit, man. I couldn't imagine seeing my son pulled underwater by a wild animal while I'm on vacation. And then, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever goes by, and I don't see my son. You know what I mean? Like, he got pulled underwater, and that's just it. You know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine what these people are going through, man. Like,
Didn't they kill like 4 or 5 gators in the process? Of...
They did.
They said that gator might have been amongst the gators that they pulled out, but they're not sure. They have yet to confirm it.
But I mean, they can't know. Like, I mean, luckily, it's not like they can find the kid's remains inside the gator.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if it's gonna match bite marks, but it's not worth it at this point.
There was an expert who said that after the father jumped in to save the son, tried to pry the alligator's mouth open, the father suffered a few minor cuts on his hands. He said that the body was found 10 to 15 yards from where the boy was grabbed, which makes sense because the father, when he jumped in to grab the son or to save the son, startled the alligator, and at which point the alligator released the son, and the son just drowned in the water. So,
shit.
Was it really that dark that you couldn't see the boy from 10 to 15 yards away?
At 9 o'clock at night?
And they did a
I guess it could be
In the
that
water?
dark, yeah.
In the murky water? I don't know. Like, I don't know how murky the...
Like, was he floating
the
underneath
man-made
the
water
water?
is.
Yeah. That's so scary, man. I just, being a father, I just couldn't imagine.
I said
man.
this before, man. This is the shit. This is the stuff of nightmares, man. Like, this is the stuff nightmares made of. Like, when I first had my daughter, I had nightmares that I would just be out and about, and I would imagine her and I would just remember like, oh shit, I left her in the tub, and I would go and she'll be just floating in the tub, and I would wake up like, oh shit. So obviously that was the first thing that I always made a point never to let happen. Because I always was super
because kids are
vigilant
so
over
fragile
something like
and
that.
they're so helpless. You know, like you always think like, man, the worst could happen because it can. You know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I guess when you're from Nebraska and you're on vacation in Florida, you don't think that an alligator can come up from under the water and grab your child and kill it.
That's the last thing from their mind. You're taking
Wow.
the kids down there to enjoy a good time, and
So now these people have to turn around, go back to Nebraska, around their friends, co-workers, whatever,
Without one of their children.
and tell people that their child got killed by an alligator in Florida. It's not funny, but it's just it's mind-boggling. It's like, man, like I couldn't imagine. It's not funny. It's
you
not.
can't fuck with that, John.
I mean,
Like,
this
that's the
little boy
worst
was
situation.
innocent. You know, he didn't do anything to deserve this.
The
But at the
worst
same time, the
imaginable
alligator is
situation.
innocent too. It's not the alligator's fault that he grabbed the little boy.
It's not.
The
It's
little boy
wildlife.
shouldn't have been able to walk up to the water with the threat of alligators being there.
I think the biggest blame.
It's
blame
Disney.
does lay with Disney.
It's Disney.
Like,
It
I hate
is.
to say it. Like, after looking at it, and now that we have more facts, at first I was like, you know what? Parents should pay more attention. But when you look at these facts, it's like, look, no swimming is not sufficient enough information to say, hey, there's a gator that could climb up on land and grab your kid and drag it in the water. Like, that's not enough information.
But that's the only thing you could say Disney did not provide adequate signs.
That's it.
But that's the only one thing.
Well,
so
that's
then going
the thing.
going to the parents though, again, they should have been watching the child. The
Yeah.
child should have been closer, holding somebody's hand in a stroller, in somebody's arms. He shouldn't have been able to be there by himself. So like, it's 4 or 5 things compared to the one that
But here's the
Disney
thing.
didn't
So
have signs.
let's say you change the scenario and have like a kid walking down the street. Like you're walking down the street and you have your kid, you like holding hands, and you walk by a person with the Rottweiler. Like, of course, you may have the instinct of, I'm picking my
them
kid
up,
up
right.
and put on my shoulder. But there's no, like, the person has their Rottweiler on a leash.
Mm-hmm.
Who the fuck knows what the fuck this wild, this not even wild, but domesticated animal do? It's like, there's certain things that you just can't predict, And I think that's one of those cases. Is like, you just couldn't really predict something like this to happen because without the adequate warning.
I don't
You
care if you saw, they say that all these canals and the lakes, they lead into bigger canals and bigger tributaries, and they lead out to larger bodies of water, the ocean eventually. If you see one alligator 10 miles away at another resort, you have to imagine that some alligators could be at your resort 10 miles away. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
it's
true.
like you are to blame for this, like.
Wait, did you guys see that picture of the alligator on the golf course? I reposted on my Facebook.
I saw
the
that.
other
Was
day.
I think
that
I
real?
saw that
That was
too.
real.
Yeah.
That was a fucking dinosaur. That was a fucking Jurassic Park
I'd have shot that.
alligatosaurus.
It would have been skinned and stuffed.
You know what I'm saying? You made a whole alligator
Yeah, right.
shoot out
Did
that
y'all
jump.
see the video though where like there was an alligator in South Carolina that was just roaming like in the yards whatever, and it actually went up to somebody's house, and like they said it looked like he was ringing the doorbell because the
I
alligator
just see
stood
that
up,
jump.
And John
Like-
knocked on the door.
right,
that
and then
jump.
it just like
And just said,
walked
hey,
away.
Chinese food. Oh, snap.
Oh no.
I have some stats here, statistics from, of course, the source is CNN.com. It says unprovoked gator attacks in Florida from 1948 through 2016. 257. That is the number of attacks that required medical attention from 1948 to 2016.
That's actually a pretty good. Yeah, that's a lot.
It's a fairly good number. I mean, for
157.
yeah, I mean,
These are all like where? Like, all over?
In Florida.
Oh, just
Just
in
in
Florida.
yeah, just in Florida, just in the state of Florida.
Unprovoked.
Unprovoked.
I mean, gators
Alligator
roll up
attacks.
on you and want to try to eat you.
Yes, 257. Number of attacks that required medical attention. 23. The number of people who died as a result of those attacks. So out of 257, only 23 people died. I mean, you might be maimed, you might have a leg ripped off or something, but you didn't die, you know what I mean? So is it really that bad? I don't know.
That's a sufficient number.
I mean, out of 257 it is, but, if you're looking at the last 50,
years?
65, 70 years, I mean, it's not that bad. 8. It's the number of children, 16 and under, among the 23 deaths. So, out of those 23 people who died as a result Of the 257 attacks that required medical attention, 8 were the number of children 16 and under who are among the 23 people who died. It's not too bad. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if any of them were 2. Guess you could have been
One of them
15
was.
died. So, yeah, I don't know. 1977 is the year that saw the most attacks requiring medical attention. And that was 13.
So
13 attacks. 1977.
Wonder why so many in that
I
one
wonder
year.
what happened in 77.
Yeah, what the
Should make a
hell?
movie about that.
I mean, 13 out of 257? Yeah, I guess that's not that many, but who knows?
The Gators attacked.
All right, 1977, maybe they had a lot of cocaine floating in the water or something like that. It
Oh, all right.
drew a lot of,
Gators was that joint
Yeah.
amped and ready.
It was
They were
amped and ready to go.
Fuck it, son.
Uh,
Hungry, son. Some
one
food.
1 in 2.4 million is the likelihood of a resident of Florida being seriously injured in an attack. And the source for this was the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission.
1 in 2.4 million?
1 in 2.4 million. The likelihood of a resident being seriously injured in an attack. So, I guess with those
That's
statistics...
actually pretty damn good. Like, that's... Fucking Powerball's got worse
Yeah.
rate chances
This
than
just
that.
happened to be one of the outliers where a boy was attacked. He was younger than 16, 2 years old. I guess he's part of the 257 attacks that require... Wait a minute, so do they count him in the 257 attacks that require medical attention? Because he was
I would
dead.
imagine they would.
He was dead by the time they
right.
got him.
That require medical attention? Probably at least one of the ones that died.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I don't know, man. It's, you have to keep eyes on your kids, man.
At all times.
At all
Dude,
times.
freak
I mean,
accidents
even if
happen.
an alligator wouldn't have grabbed him, maybe he could have tripped and drowned.
A lot of
What were the
people
parents
comparing
doing?
this to the gorilla attack. Well, not the gorilla attack, about the child that dropped into the gorilla pen.
Well, I say it's not really fair to blame the gorilla. He didn't attack anybody.
Yeah, I agree. It's not really fair to blame the gorilla, but he did drag the kid through the water like he was a motherfucking coconut.
After
So,
after the fact, you have sympathy for the human being, the child in the situation, but
Yeah.
the gorilla didn't jump up over his barricade.
I'm just saying,
the
like,
parents weren't
this-
paying attention and let the child drop into it.
But
So,
when
like-
you look at the media reaction just between like how they treat the two parents, the two sets of parents in this situation. Some people say there's a significant difference, but I think the situation. Some people are saying that they treated the mother of the child that dropped into the gorilla pen a little bit more harshly. Like they were calling for their removal of their children, saying they were negligent. And whether or not that's true, I
To me,
definitely
that's
think
on the
there's
zoo.
enough. Huh?
To me, that's on the zoo.
It is-
There should be no
is it?
way that a
Well,
child
yeah,
should
I
be
would
able
agree.
to
I agree.
walk up to that gorilla enclosure and even
figure out
fall
a
in.
way.
You know what I mean? Like, you have to have that thing blocked off to the point where nobody can fall in. You have to climb up some kind of a barricade or something to make it over,
I got a question.
Huh?
So, like, in these, I don't recall reading anything in these, situations, these stories about technology. Was it, were the parents, were they on Facebook? Were they on Instagram? Were they taking pictures? Was that part of the reason that they weren't, paying
I see what you're
attention?
saying.
Because the way technology is set up, that also has a lot to do
See
with
what they were
distraction.
doing in
Right.
the time where this kid, or either both kids,
Right,
ran into
right.
these incidents. Maybe they were checking their Twitter
or just
tweets.
distracted by other people.
Other
The way
things.
these pictures looked for this resort, and they have, beaches and lawn chairs and everything, I'm fairly certain that you could probably even order drinks. You're at a resort, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They might have waitresses
imagine.
bringing drinks out to you, so the parents could have been drinking.
Right.
They were just distracted and weren't paying attention. They actually said that the parents have another child. I believe it's a
Older
daughter.
side, right? Yeah.
They had 2 other children, right?
Yeah, I think they have an older and a younger. The daughter was in a playpen that was about, I believe I read an article, 10 to 15 yards away from the water's edge, which was scary enough because, if your son got grabbed by an alligator right at the water's edge, was to stop the alligator from walking up.
Yeah, walking up
Into the
couple
playpen,
yards up further.
Which to me, again, goes back to the resort, man. What the hell are you guys doing? You know what I mean? Like, you have to secure the... You know that there's a threat of alligators in these waters. These people are from Nebraska. You get people from all over.
I think there's reasonable knowledge that they should have. Like they know on a regular, if at least part of your mission to have these facilities open is to be rid of the alligators, you should at least warn people in the case you missed one. Like,
I
and
kinda
they
see-
found 5.
I
They
kinda
found
see-
5 in the area. So it could have been any of those 5. And that's a pretty big number for being on a resort. You know?
I don't blame the alligator at all.
No.
The alligators
that's
are
just
animals.
nature.
Man-made, right? So
Mhm.
did they put the alligators in there?
No. The alligators just find water. Like,
Okay.
that's just how it
They
works.
said that the lake and the lagoon or whatever connects to a bunch of canals that eventually lead to the ocean. But
Like, if it's water, the alligator will find it.
if you know that an alligator can travel up that canal and possibly get into your lake, you are responsible for protecting guests from themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You might have kids who might, wander away from the parents and jump into the lake. That's on you. That's on the resort. I mean, it's to me, it's clear cut and dry. You sue the resort. The parents, they have a loss that they can never recoup.
Yeah.
They lost a child. But to me, you sue that resort. And that resort, Disney, whatever, has
Suck
to...
it up, because that was your fault.
They have to
At least-
find a way to fix this.
At least partially, that's your...
And I understand in a
On your-
business sense, you don't want to necessarily put warning alligators on signs all around your resort. Because then you're going to scare people off. They don't want to do putt-putt golf next to the lake. There's alligators in there. You know what I mean? They don't want to sit on the lake and order from the bar and spend more money. There's alligators in there,
Maybe even too, like, if they know that they're alligators, they should have, I don't know what you call them, like, not park rangers, but some kind of people that are patrolling that have weapons or something like that.
Yeah, it's
in
like-
case there's an alligator.
Isn't there
that-
something you can add to the water to
kinda
maybe
like-
deter the alligators from
Kind of
coming
like
there?
the effect lifeguards have. Like, just have somebody patrolling,
Right.
and it's like they have lifeguards. Just to have like a mental portion in your mind, just to be like, hey, look, some shit can happen. Be vigilant. Be careful. Pay attention. Yeah,
Or block the water off.
or block it off.
Have some kind of fence, barricade, or something.
All of that.
Yeah. Yeah,
All
I
of
mean, you're
those
right.
things.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. God bless the child and God bless the parents, man. Lane Graves was the name of the 2-year-old. Who was
Lane.
grabbed. That's crazy, man.
Shit,
Yeah,
nightmares are
stories
made of.
about kids, Stephen, what I was saying about the Sandy Hook thing, last segment, is like, they always hit me harder now as a parent, because the fact that I have a child, and it's like, man, like, when you hear stories about child abuse, children getting abducted, or children getting killed, or whatever else, it's hard to,
terrible, man.
yeah, it's just a terrible story, man. I couldn't imagine that kind of thing happening to me. Excuse me. And even like you said, with Scarlett, maybe leaving her in a tub too long, you get kind of cautious about those things. Like, man, something could happen. I need to be alert. I need to be attentive. You know what I mean? I need to make sure where my kid is. Like Ace was saying, I don't want my kid walking on this side. Walk on this side. Even when you're walking in the street, you walk on the side that's not close to the street. You walk on the inside of the sidewalk.
Like, just because you said that, when I was driving earlier today, I saw a guy, his daughter, she probably looked like she was like 6 or 7, and they had a dog, and his daughter was on the side where the traffic was. And I'm like, why is she on the outside and not on the inside?
Common sense,
It's just
man.
one of those things you don't think about, though. Like, I admit, I've probably done that before just because I don't think about it. Like, I just walk, and if we're walking, she'll be on this side and she'll be on that side. It just doesn't matter. She'll bounce around because she's a kid and they're moving constantly.
Yeah, they do.
You can't just be like, hey, just stay here. But you definitely do need to be cautious. You need to be vigilant. You need to be aware of your surroundings. Like, wild animals are definitely, like, we just heard about, you were just telling us earlier about the
The
situation in
5-year-old
Colorado.
that was attacked by a mountain lion, and the mother, she, fought the mountain lion off. I think the child was last listed in stable or critical condition. But,
That's one of those things that shit just fucking happens sometimes, and there's only so much you can do, Like, you can be vigilant, you can watch, and you should be. But shit fucking, like, that's life, man. There's some shit that just happens that you
have
can't
no
really do
control
shit
over.
about,
You're
I
right.
think this gator incident is one of those things. And definitely that mountain lion incident. The kid probably shouldn't be trying to climb in the gorilla pen. Life happens like that, and you just gotta do your best. But certain things you just can't.
Yeah, you're right, man. I don't know, man. God bless him, man. And I guess that's gonna take us out of the kid versus the alligator topic. Maybe I shouldn't make light of it. Maybe I shouldn't say kid versus the alligator. Maybe I should say Kid versus alligator. But, okay. So,
Yes. Either way, we know it's a serious and tragic topic. So, I want to talk about the breastfeeding topic. So recently, the titty topic.
the titty topic.
All right,
The topic
guys,
of titties.
that is not. Anyway, so recently at a Target, I don't know the state. I probably should have done the research and figured out what state this was in.
I definitely
But
did.
a woman was breastfeeding her child in Target, and a man started harassing her, saying that she was being disgusting and calling her a slut
and a whore.
because she was breastfeeding her baby in the seated area of a Target McDonald's.
You know, I'm not going to go as far as to say she's a slut or a whore. She's a mother whose child was hungry. But I kind of feel the guy in this situation. You know what I mean? Like, if I walk into a Target, right, go get some stuff, some groceries, clothes, whatever, and I'm walking out, going to my car, and I say, man, let me go get a McDouble and some French fries or something. And I walk up, and there's a titty just posted up, you know what I mean, inside some baby's mouth.
Wait a minute.
I mean, I'm thinking in my head, like, Jesus, lady, like, can't you be a little more decent than that? You know what I mean? Like,
How the titty gonna be posted up? Just like
I mean, the titty just posted.
off the side of the baby mouth.
I'm just saying, though, like, I mean, it's a certain element of decency. Now, fine, yes, it is the circle of life. The baby needs to eat. You can't predict when the baby's going to be hungry. I'm not blaming the woman so much in this situation, but I kind of feel what the guy was saying. He didn't have to go off the top and call her a slut and a whore. She's not a slut. She's just feeding her baby. It's not like she just was chilling there eating her food and had her titty out. You know what I mean?
Right.
She had it out for a reason. But, you know, I kind of understand, man. I don't want to, you know, if I'm going up to eat, I don't want to see that, you know?
But is it any different from you? Say, for example, you and your girl are out somewhere, and she's all dressed up, decked out. She got her titties out. You know what I'm saying? Like, is it a problem then if you're about to eat and her titties are out?
Well,
Exactly.
I mean, her titties are not all the way out. Her breasts are within a shirt. They're just, she might be showing extra cleavage. She might be, you know, but they're not out and popped in some little kid's mouth. You know what I mean? That lady could have went. She could have went to
does
the
it make it
bathroom.
disgusting because it's in the kid's
I'm
mouth?
pretty sure they have
Right.
other sitting areas, maybe by the restroom. She could have went into her car, cut on the air conditioning, did that. It's just, the thing is, you don't have to do it in a public venue. You know?
That's the thing. So I'm no major feminist. She was exercising her right to be able to feed her child, and the fact is that she wasn't in, like, if she was in the aisle or if she was walking in the store shopping, you know, just, or at a register trying to check out and breastfeeding her kid, I'm like, you know what? Maybe that's not the best place to do it. But the place she went to was in feeding the eating area in a McDonald's, which looked pretty secluded. There was nobody else in there.
I have less of a problem with her breastfeeding, walking through the aisles, or checking out than sitting in a McDonald's.
In a
Maybe
McDonald's?
there was nowhere else to
How?
sit,
There was,
though.
wait a minute. That is a place for eating.
This is the
It's
place that's
secluded.
also
But
exactly.
It's secluded.
A place for eating. The baby was eating.
It was secluded. There was
The
nobody
baby
else
was
there.
drinking, okay, and
It's still being fed.
That's not the.
Babies ain't got teeth.
When
Eating
I go
is
in,
drinking.
listen, okay, breastfeeding a baby is as natural as, say, what's another thing that naturally happens?
Taking a shit?
If I get a booger in my nose, right? I'm in the McDonald's, right? I'm sitting there and I start picking my nose. You're gonna say that's disgusting, but it's natural. I get boogers. People get boogers. It's
That's when you
a
need to
human
go
thing
to
to
the
happen.
bathroom.
Where's the difference?
So, no,
nobody's crying because you didn't pick your
No,
nose.
it's
goddamn it.
natural. It's natural. Boogers
Nah,
form
son.
naturally.
I don't think
So
it-
if I'm sitting there and you're
don't
trying to
hold.
eat your food and I'm digging up my nose, are you going to fuss at me and say I'm a disgusting bastard because I'm digging in my nose while you're trying to eat?
That's nasty.
That's
Go to the
nasty.
Okay,
bathroom.
so this
I
guy
might
has a
not
point.
tell you. No,
This guy
I might
has a
not tell
point.
you. I might not tell you. But that's just nasty as shit.
Okay,
and nobody needs you to fucking
Look,
pick your nose.
flatulence,
That's the difference.
passing gas is natural.
Nobody
if you're
needs
eating
you
and
to
I
pass
pass
gas.
gas next to you, you'd be like, that's disgusting. You know what I mean? So why is it not disgusting for this guy to walk in, get some food, and see a lady breastfeeding her kid?
Because it's
That's
not
fine.
disgusting. It's none of his business.
It's life.
I'm
It
not saying it's
happens.
not disgusting. I'm not saying it is disgusting, but he has a right to be offended. Maybe he shouldn't have gone off the deep end like he did and called her a slut and a whore. That's going over the top. But he has a right to be offended. This is a place where we're eating food. This
So
is
here's the thing.
sanitation.
I'm
You know what I mean?
just gonna go out on a limb
It's
and,
not like
and
she was
guess.
cooking the food.
Okay, but
I'm
she
gonna,
had
go,
a-
I'm gonna go out on a limb and guess. This is one of those guys that say people are too PC all the time. Oh, you can't say this because it's too PC. You can't say that, it's too PC. But here, this guy is, and I'm guessing all that shit. But I'm guessing this is the kind of guy who would say shit like this. And here he is, somehow offended that a woman would feed her child in public. And not even a public, but in a secluded area at a restaurant where nobody else is around.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a strange kind of catch-22. It was like you can't claim both
But the
sides.
thing is, there were people
of the
around.
argument.
There's
Huh?
just nobody else reacted in the manner that he did. There were other people around.
Yeah,
you
there
know
were.
what I mean? Like, you know, I kind of understand why he has a right to be offended. Okay, maybe whether he should have went over the top like he did or not, that's debatable. But he has a right to be offended.
I don't think it's debatable. He definitely shouldn't have called her no names. He shouldn't have been up in her face.
The same as she has the right to feed her child. You know what I mean? She does have the
He
right to do
doesn't
that.
have the right to go
Maybe
call her names.
doing
and
it
be
in
her
the
face.
food court at
There
a
is no
Target was
right.
not the best place to do it.
Intimidation is
Maybe she
not
should have
part
had
of your
the
human
blanket.
freedom of speech.
Exactly. Maybe she should have had a swaddling blanket. Now in the
That
video,
would've been nice.
there was a point where she kind of looked down at her baby, and you saw
The
there was
majority
no
of
blanket.
her,
You
yeah.
saw her breast sitting there. They saw the baby. Now, was she covered up while she was doing it? Did she remove the swaddling blanket to show the baby on the video? We don't know. You know, maybe she did have a blanket and she just moved it to show the baby. You know, but if she just sitting there breastfeeding a child in a food court, he has the right to be offended about that. I mean, come on, man.
He could be
You know?
offended, but he can't cause a scene, and he can't yell at her.
People
and he
call
can't her
scenes all
name.
the time. They call
But he
scenes
can't
when
yell
they
at
get
people and you can't call her
overcharged
name
for
without-
soda.
And you know what? I don't know about. I don't know
People
what
call
that-
scenes
what
in
that means.
7-Eleven every day. They get overcharged for lottery tickets or something. No, I want number 18. Yeah, we're out of 18. What the hell is that? You know what I mean? You're supposed to have number 18 in there, you know?
Nobody
People
calls
call
a
scenes
scene.
all the time.
Alright, a justified causing of scene. Because that's not a justified causing of scene, and neither is this.
It's not
Neither of those
justified
are
in the it's not justified in the court of public opinion, but it's justified with him.
In a crazy,
He thought when he walked in there,
cranky old man way. Yeah,
he thought
fine,
when
it's
he walked in
justified.
there to get his
It's
hot dog and
justified for a
fries
cranky
and
old
a
man.
Pepsi, he wasn't expecting to see a titty popped in a baby's mouth while he's sitting up there trying to order food.
He should be happy
That's
to
fine.
see a titty. He probably ain't never
Right.
seen. He probably ain't seen a titty in the last 15 years.
Well,
he should be fucking.
that's
He
another
should be
debate.
appreciative. He say thank you for this purveyance of this titty, because I ain't seen a titty in 20 years.
I don't know.
He didn't look
Are-
like
are-
he's seen a
we don't
titty in
know
20
what was
years,
wrong with
other
him.
than his own titties.
I don't know. Are milky breastfeeding titties as sexy as like regular titties?
Hey,
Is a breastfeeding titty a regular titty?
titties.
Is it regular?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Ace is not a mom.
I'm not. I've never.
Will you breastfeed when you have a baby?
Honestly, I don't know.
I didn't blame my son's mom when she didn't want to do it. I was like, you know what? It's your body.
'Cause it
You
takes
don't want
a
to
lot
do
of
it.
work.
That's-
My daughter's mom
Mhm.
did. They
I
were
heard this
still
is the best thing
great
for them.
titties.
Yeah, nutrients and it's healthier and stuff.
Yeah,
like
I heard
that.
it is. So I don't blame her. She has every right to feed her child. But maybe, like we were talking about earlier, why don't you pump? They have these things called breast pumps.
Right.
So pump some milk, put it into a bottle,
So when
and
the
then
baby-
feed the baby that. You know what I mean?
And
That's
Still
fine.
the
I'd
same
agree
milk.
with that.
It's
I'd
still
agree with
the
that.
same milk.
That's cool.
So, you know, yeah, I think this guy had a right to be offended. He might have went a little over the top.
He
but-
didn't have a right to be motherfucking offended because he ain't got shit to do. He was about to order a motherfucking
Yeah,
nasty ass burger from nasty ass McDonald's, and he's tripping about a lady fucking feeding the kid.
He did
Okay.
seem
Yeah,
a little
he had a right to be offended, but he did not have.
have a
you
right
know,
to call her a slut
Right, I
and a
say he
whore.
didn't have a right, but
Yeah.
still, he has a right to do what he wants.
All right,
freedom
I
of
don't
speech,
understand.
but-
What do we mean by right to be offended? Because
Like
how?
you can feel some sort of way about it. Like just because, like
Okay, all
I
right,
might
fine,
feel some
yes.
sort of way about it, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm gonna, go up to her and be like, "Hey, you need to cover that up. This is, I'm trying to eat." You know what I'm saying? He could have kept his thoughts to himself.
Okay,
He didn't
all
have
right.
to express them.
All right, then yeah. All right, fine. He has a right to be offended.
Right.
I'm thinking like right to be offended means he has a right to fucking file a complaint. Get the fuck out of here.
I mean, he does. You know, he has that right, but you know,
He can file a complaint, but everybody will look at him like the asshole he is.
oh, he was an asshole. No,
No
I mean, no doubt. You don't react to somebody like that.
I gotta
mean,
say,
that's that's just common human decency. You know what I mean? You don't call somebody a
Like,
slut and a whore
women-
and all that. I mean, it's
Women
ridiculous.
have been breastfeeding for motherfucking since the beginning of
Yeah.
goddamn time.
That's ridiculous, bro.
Like,
Like,
come on, man.
I mean, he might have been an ornery old man, cranky. Maybe he
He can't bend his
got
knees,
divorced
man.
or something, or maybe he was just,
work.
you know, a lot of times, you know, with these guys, you know, we always take it to sex, but he might be sexually frustrated. You know, who's the last time he saw a titty or had sex or been
That
intimate
morning,
with a woman?
when he looked in the mirror.
I mean, so
All right, I'm gonna chill out.
maybe his outburst towards that woman had something to do with
With
his
something else.
repression of his sexual desires. You know what I mean? Who knows? You know, I don't know. I mean, I know me, if I walked into a Target, you know, we have a Target by the crib, walked up and I seen some woman breastfeeding, I might double take and look, but I'm not going to call her a whore and a slut and complain and demand my money back because she's breastfeeding her kid. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm going to get my food and I'm going to move on, you know?
I'm like, yo, that's weird shit. I didn't fucking expect to see that.
You would be offended. You'd be like,
Mhm.
really? You could have did
Huh.
that at home, but
You
you
could
would have
did that
kept
at home.
going.
At the same time, I'd be in mid-bite on my hot dog and be like, what the fuck? She got her titty out? Like, I'd be trying to look. Honestly, I'd be trying to look. I'd be trying to see what that y'all look like.
Wait, is that a nice city or not?
I'm like, move that baby out the way. That baby get all the action.
Oh shit!
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, who knows, man? I don't know. I feel him. I thought it was a funny video when I saw it.
It
I was
was
like,
funny.
you know, this dude. Some people are crazy. People blow up about shit all the time, man. I work in retail. People
Yeah.
blow up about crazy shit all the time, man. You don't have their order on time, they fucking blow up. Cussing, calling people stupid, you fucking bitch, and all this other stuff. I mean, so, you know, he might have been having a bad day already. He went in Target, just trying to get some toilet tissue and some soda. And he saw a lady in there breastfeeding her kid, and he just flipped out, you know?
He could have had a mental illness.
He could have had a mental illness, you know?
Oh shit! Don't get that started.
Here we go with the mental illness thing.
Luckily,
Oh my
his
God,
ass
his
ain't have a
Ace.
gun.
Yeah, yeah.
Shot everybody in that
You know
joint.
what? Any podcast Ace is on from now on, I guarantee we're going to hear the words mental illness.
Hey.
Nope,
You know,
not at
regardless of
all.
what we're talking
Psychology, yo.
about. You know,
Psychology.
you're talking about the next Captain America movie. You're like, maybe Captain America had a mental illness. I don't know.
Bucky Barnes had a middle
Yeah,
illness.
Bucky Barnes had a. You know what? Bucky Barnes did have a mental
He did have
illness.
middle
Like,
illness.
yeah, he
You know
did.
who he was for a minute.
Damn.
The fuck am I?
So, yeah, man. I mean, yeah. I guess that's all about the.
I just want to say one more
baby and
thing,
a
yo.
titty.
Props to the Target people who came and kind of defended the lady. Not the lady who was saying, "Oh, he ain't got a right to say all this shit to you."
Props to that
Not-
lady.
Not her.
Props
but-
to that lady too, because she did
Alright.
come to her defense.
All right, fine,
You know,
fine,
that's fine.
fine.
That's
She got props
humanitarian.
too. But props to most people who came and stood up for this lady.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I think they
it?
did what needed to be done.
All right.
Next topic.
Next topic. Last one up for discussion tonight. The Senate recently voted to require women to register. This was an article in the New York Times by Jennifer Steinhauer. But yeah, basically it requires women who turn 18 on or after January 1st, 2018 would be forced, and I underline the word forced, to register for selective service. Policy does not apply if you turn 18 before 2018. My question is, what does this even mean? I mean,
That means that
What-
women have to register for the draft. The women have to sign up for selective service, which
Do-
means that in the event there is a draft, they will be drafted along with men.
do you remember registering to vote?
Registering to vote
Yeah, for selective
for the
service.
draft.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
I remember that joint too, but you know, it slips your mind so much. It's like if they sent me a letter like, "Hey, you're in selective service and you are now being drafted," I'd be like, "What the fuck?" You know what I mean? Like that was 14, 15 years ago I did that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's pretty much saying, "Hey, it's your turn to go fight." Like that's pretty much what it is. It's like, "Oh, we pulled your number. Your
Which
turn."
I
Let's go."
kind of agree with. If things hit the fan and you know this country gets invaded or our homes are directly threatened, then man or woman, you have to fight.
You have to defend your country.
Exactly. You have to defend yourself, your country, your family. But there hasn't been a draft since 1973 during the Vietnam War. So why now vote on this bill to require women to register for selective service? Do you guys think they are preparing us for another draft, possibly, in the future? I mean,
Another war coming
Another
up?
war.
there's always a war to be fought.
Yeah, exactly. I think I don't know. Like, you wonder, like, whether or not this is something that's actually going to be relevant in the future. And I think, like, this landscape of war has changed over the last 50 years. It's definitely changed over the last 30 years. Anyway, number of years.
So many years.
It's definitely,
the last couple years.
The number of years is definitely
it's
changed
debatable.
over time.
Mm-hmm.
The fact is, though, that war has changed, and it's not, as far as we can see, we have imagined so far, hasn't been a situation where we need more people than we have already enlisted to go fight. But you wonder, like, when the Vietnam War happened, like, maybe they thought they had enough, and they just like, hey, we're out of people. We need more people to go fight this war in Vietnam.
I believe the only reason you would induce a draft is when you don't have enough people. You have so much opposition to the war itself that you don't have enough people actually registering or signing up of their own free will to go fight, that you have to draft somebody to go fight. So my question is, why implement this now? Why bring this law about now? 1973 is the last time we had a draft. So why in 2016 are they all of a sudden deciding that it's okay for women to face combat on the front lines and after they've been drafted into the military?
Well, here, let me read this. So
I'm not a proponent of anything that just happens. This doesn't just happen.
It's because
It's
Trump
always
is about to
another.
be president. It's about to be a whole lot of shit. About
See,
to
now you about to take us off into
Oh,
something
shit.
totally different.
Oh,
Hey, Trump is
shit.
not going to be president.
nah, he's
Trump
not.
is there just specifically to bring ratings and to draw attention and interest
know what's
to the presidential race. But the president was chosen,
Yeah.
what was that, a couple
When?
weeks ago when Hillary won the primary?
Really?
I mean, that's pretty much that they chose the president that night.
Don't get me started.
Guaranteed
Hold on.
Hillary
So,
Clinton's gonna win
Let
the
me let
presidency.
me read this part. As far as to why they say they're starting this. This is from Senator John McCain. He says, the fact is, every single leader in the country, both men and women, members of the military leadership, believe that it's fair, since we open up all aspects of the military to women, that they would also be registering for selective services. So pretty much what he's saying is that because women now have the right and the ability to enlist in the army, whereas they may have not had that before, that, if you can enlist and you have the equal rights as men to do so, then we should force women to into selective service.
See, now that's the thing where I have the word force underlined. I mean,
Well, that's the
force
thing, that's
women
what it
into
is.
selective service?
Well,
They
that's
do.
what a draft
They
is.
force men, but
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's like force.
if a
That
man
word
doesn't
stands
do it,
out.
there's consequences. So now, if a woman doesn't register for selective service, there's a consequence. I think that's the number one first step to creating a complete military.
I'm not sure, but is there a lot of
for a country.
opposition to this law that women have to?
There's definitely some pushback, but as far as the Senate ruling, I don't know how official or supreme the Senate ruling on something like this is, but this might be the last word on it. I don't know, honestly. I don't know whether or not somebody can appeal something like this, but this might be the last word on it. There's definitely a Ted Cruz, who I thought I'd never, ever agree with on any topic, ever. This motherfucking Ted Cruz, and he's a religious maniac, but he says the idea that we should forcibly conscript young women into combat, to my mind, makes little sense at all. I cannot in good conscience vote to draft our daughters into the military, sending them off to war and forcing them into combat. And I, despite myself, I must say I agree with this kook. I can't imagine that we, being the most powerful nation in the world, would have to have the mandatory need to conscript women into our military by force. Like, if they want to volunteer, if they want to register, fine. But for all women who have no interest in fighting, to have to go fight.
I mean, you have men that have no interest in fighting
Right,
as well.
They end up getting drafted and end up going over there too.
I mean,
That is true, but
I think the only reason you would implement a draft is when you don't have enough people who want to fight of their own free volition. You know what I mean? Like
But why do men fight though? Like men fight because genetically, we are just better designed for physical combative activity, right? So not saying a woman can't train herself in a way.
Guy can do, women can do too, or even better.
Women can pull a trigger. Women are smart. Women can be tactical.
Right. But how do we raise our men? Like we have,
to be the manly
our society
man,
has always raised men in a way to be, like you said, men protectors. So you would imagine the first lines would be the men. You know, and maybe they're imagining that if worse comes to worse and shit hits the fan, then maybe we will need to have our women on the front lines.
My thing is,
but I imagine we lost the war by that point.
When it comes down to it, women have to step up and defend their homes and their country and their families as well as the men do.
Right, just like men do.
You know, equal rights. Women can go do as much as a man can do. Why shouldn't they be able to be on the front lines of combat or command a team of trained military men, or
nobody is saying they can't.
Past, it's always been that women aren't going to be the ones on the front line. Women aren't going to be the ones that really go to war and stuff like that. And now it is, if it's needed, now women will be able to go to war. Women will be on the front line. Me being a woman, I don't really have a problem with it. I personally, if I was in that age range and I got drafted, I would be okay with it. But then, as you had brought up earlier, D, that like now, if you are a woman taking care of home, you got children, you got a job, family, and you get a letter saying that you have to go fight, then it's like, okay, you're getting taken away from your home and having to go do something you're not used to doing. So,
but I mean, in equal rights fairness, men can get the same letter, and we have a family, we have our wife,
and
we
you
have
still
children.
gotta go regardless.
My thing is,
I think they'll probably make concessions for women who do have children.
The whole thing that makes me suspicious about this is why now? You know what I mean? Like, why in 2016 are they finally ruling on this? Why not do it in 1974 after the last draft?
It does seem a little suspicious.
Why
but
not do it in 2015? Why 2016? Why a week ago?
I told you why.
I would say in 1974 that women's rights is like they had a lot more rights in the 70s than they had in the 50s. But I'm sure that there are a lot more women's rights now in the 2016 than there were in the 70s.
Right.
So I feel like the situations continue to evolve as far as women's rights to be able to do things.
Do you all think this has anything to do with Miss DC, the lady that just won? I do not know her name. She just won District of Columbia, and she was also in the military. She was like a captain or something like that. Brought a point that women should be allowed to do X, Y, and Z and things like that. Does you think that?
I wouldn't say it has anything to do particularly specifically with her. Maybe the ideal.
I don't know. I think all these things have an agenda. There's a reason they passed this law now. I'm so suspicious of government. I just don't trust these guys, man. Anytime they pass a law out of the blue, or
it does seem out of the blue, right?
Yeah, it's just out of the blue. Like maybe it has been a topic for the last couple of years, and maybe we just didn't pay attention to it. When I think about wartime and I think about soldiers on the front lines and combat, societally, we do think about men doing those jobs, those things. Think about women being more of the caretakers. Even if they are on the front lines, they're not in the combat of it. They're not in the thick of the combat. They're being the caretakers, medical, food. There's a lot of other things that go into wartime besides the actual combat, shooting, fighting, killing people. You know what I mean? And you think about women doing that, but a lot of men in the military are deeply, I don't know about all of them, but deeply religious, and I think it would be hard for a lot of men to follow the lead of a woman as far as being on the hierarchy of the in the military. Like if you have a company of 100 men and their leader is a woman, would you have a lot of backlash to the woman? Would you have men kind of talking back or being insubordinate?
They would.
I mean,
think,
I
yeah.
would think so
I
too,
think, yeah.
right? Yeah.
Or challenging her authority.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean-
they wouldn't even listen to her.
So, I mean, it's not just as simple as saying women can be drafted, they can go fight now. It's a lot of other things that we have to incorporate and get used to and, be prepared for. But, I'm just so suspicious of the government. I don't trust anything they do. I don't trust anything they say. I mean, there's a reason for this. There's an agenda that's trying to be accomplished here. It's not just as simple as,
To me, it just seems like
okay, you guys can go fight too.
To me, it just seems like a backhanded compliment in a way. Like I use that statement saying that, like, yes, women now have the right to be considered equal to men. So, what's the first thing we do?
Send them to war.
Send them to war. Oh, you want to be like the men? You want to say?
I don't know if it's fair to say that's the first thing
but,
we do.
Well,
I mean, women have been equal to men for a long time now.
So women still get paid statistically more. They still get paid less than men statistically. So they didn't fix that.
True.
But what's the first thing they do before that? Before the thing that actually would really matter in our day-to-day lives was like, oh yeah, we're gonna throw you guys in the draft. Like, to me, it just seems a little suspicious, as if, like I said, a backhanded compliment. It's like, yes, we acknowledge you are just as strong as us, but we're not gonna give you what you want. We're gonna give you what we decide to give you. It was something you didn't particularly ask for. Like, what women asked for when they were initially registering to be able to go to fight in the front line, to fight in the wars, was that they just wanted to be acknowledged. They wanted to fight for their country. But to make all women do that seems a little weird. Like, it doesn't seem like it's coming from a genuine place of acknowledgement.
Maybe they don't have enough people who are actually signing up for the military now. So if you open that up to women,
I don't know. I think people go
Being
to
on
the
the front
military because
lines.
they get paid for it.
yeah, I mean, people go to the military to maybe, especially out of high school, maybe get paid, start a career. I doubt anybody goes in the military specifically to
Go fight.
go
be in
fight.
war.
Yeah, exactly, and be on the front lines of combat. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's weird. I don't trust government.
I have mixed emotions, being a female. I think it's good, that females are getting the opportunity to have the same, equivalency as men, being able to have to register for selective service. But at the same time now that, I think about it, why now, 30, 40 years later, however many years later.
After the last draft.
Right. But I don't know, like, if I had to do it, given the situation that I'm in now, being that I am single, I don't have any kids and, family, stuff like that, I wouldn't mind it. And then it would be a great opportunity, as far as experience and being able to do...
But would
Listen,
you want to go to Vietnam?
You know yourself better than I do.
Huh?
I don't think we're going to go to Vietnam.
Well, that's what the draft is for. It's for a Vietnam-type situation. Vietnam was tragic. It was terrible. It was horrific.
When we need more troops, we will force people to be
'Cause, like,
drafted
right now, what
and be
happens-
signed up.
The people that are active, and then the people that are, like, reserved, and then the people that are, like, the National Guards and things like that goes, and then it would be the ones that are being drafted.
All right, so it is the last line of defense.
So
It's a
not
very
like
last
it's the
option.
first.
But I would prefer, if you're going to have it like this, and this is just me, probably means nothing really, but I would rather have all the men go, do the draft of the men first. Because usually, historically, if a situation of war, and it comes down to where you have to have the women fight, you've lost the war. At that point, there's really not much more. If you come down to women and children fighting, the war is over. Like, there's nothing more you're going to really do to be able to salvage your position.
But what if it has to go that far?
Then
You know what I mean?
then the country's
What if
over.
there
Like,
is
if you're
no
going to kill
other
every
option?
other member, if you're going to kill every civilian member of the country to try to defend the country, then there's nothing left to
There's
defend.
no other
That's it.
option. Your world is about to come to an end. You know what I mean? If it does come that far, there's no other option but for women and children to fight. You know what I mean?
For what,
Men,
though?
civilians,
If all the men are dead, what are the women fighting for?
to preserve their country, and all the men
The
would.
country
be
is over once the... I'm not saying the
I
country's
think- I
over
think
once
that-
the men are done, but I'm saying the country's over once the family is done. Once the dynamic, once the government is over. Like, if you still have men in power calling shots and they haven't fought yet, then what the fuck is the point of having it at all? It's like, once the women are up on the front lines fighting, there's no point in having the war anymore. Just concede, you've lost. In my
So you're trying
opinion.
to say the women wouldn't be strong enough to
Not saying
win
the
the
women be
battle.
strong enough. Maybe they could win the battle. But it would be a different. It would be if whatever they did win would be of a completely different country. It wouldn't be the same thing that they were fighting for initially.
And also, I want to know about like social comparison. Like, would a 18-year-old girl of a wealthy, not middle class but higher class family, would they get drafted the same as a lower class?
Hell to no, son.
So that's what I'm
Same
saying.
goddamn
So
reason Donald Trump never been in the war, or anybody in his family never got drafted. The same goddamn reason. Because
that's
they
what I'm
got
saying.
motherfucking
Like, so
money.
it's almost like
No, that shit.
they're making it easier to pull people, regardless of lower social status people, class people, into the war, men or women. We don't care who goes to fight. You know what I mean? Somebody has to pick up this
If
rifle
you're lower
and go
class,
shoot.
you're going to war.
Exactly.
Because
So,
the last people left are going
and
to
that's
be
the
rich
reason
people.
I don't trust government, because you're right. I don't think that people of a higher social status, their daughters would be drafted first before a family of a black family in the projects in New York would be drafted. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, there is a social ladder, and like I said, it's an agenda. You know, somebody has to go fight. Somebody has to carry the torch, and whether it be a man or women, powers that be, people in charge, they don't care.
So I
They
just
don't care if
pulled
it's-
this from a motherfucking fortune cookie. I don't know how much it applies to this, but I think it's good. It says society prepares the crime, the criminal commits it. I don't know if that definitely relates, but I just thought it was fucking good.
True.
Yeah, it's like it feels like this is a situation where society will set people up to have to go to this war, and whether or not you don't go, that's gonna be a fight. If you don't go, you have a consequence. You have to you're going to jail. You're on the run. Like you're no longer a recognized citizen if you don't. And people are gonna have to make that decision. And I don't think it should be a decision. Not saying women have to make, but caretakers, like the last stand, the family home has to make. You know, like I don't think that's a decision they should have to make.
Honestly, man, I think man, woman, nobody wants to see that draft letter pop up in their mailbox or show up at their door saying that you have to go to war. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely not.
So, in that sense, we're all on the same playing field. And I mean, if you want to have equal rights, it sort of has to be equal all around. You know, you can't just have. And that's the problem, is that it's not going to be equal. That's the thing. You know, people of a higher social class status will not, women particularly, will not be drafted before people of a lower social class or status. You know what I mean? So therefore, it's not equal. That's what I'm saying. I don't trust government. There's an agenda to everything. Nothing just happens. They don't just vote on bills like this just because. There is an agenda that they're trying to accomplish. There's a motive behind this. You know, but at the end of the day, when it comes down to defending your home, your country, you know, regardless, man and woman, you know, somebody has to carry that flag and somebody has to fight. Because you're right, like the way we were raised and the way our kind of ideology, psychology, whatever, culture works, is that the men are typically the fighters. We're the ones to do the shooting, do the grimy things,
to go to war.
To go to war.
Men have always historically, no matter what country, men have always been the ones to go to war.
And if you ever have a cultural class of people where the women are warriors and they do fight,
which has happened,
it's kind of seen as, you know, maybe a little roguish or
it's not common,
barbaric. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's not common.
Because the women are the caretakers of the family, and I'm just speaking historically, of course.
So, do you ever think there would be
modernization.
so hypothetically? So, say wartime broke out, they implemented a draft, right? Say you're married, you're at home with your wife or your girlfriend, not even married, and she gets a draft letter and you don't. What does that do to the family?
That's a crazy situation.
I mean,
First
right?
off,
Like,
it
because
ends
you
it.
would think that the draft letter would come for the man. Say your wife or your girlfriend or whatever, your kid's mother gets drafted and you don't. So the mom goes off to war and
The father gotta hold it down.
but that goes against everything that we've been taught societally about the role of the man in the family. You know what I mean?
I think it just sets us up to be a so we're already a country that's been perpetually at war since the fucking 80s over the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
But it's never been a situation where we've had to go and dominate positions and places of land by force, you know. But I think this is kind of setting us up in a position where that might be the next step. Like, I feel like it's setting us up in a place where we're going to have to force people to take over land and accumulate land for our country for the purpose of some governmental agenda. That's what it feels like. If you're going to start drafting, and I'm not saying they're starting drafting people, it seems like they're mentally preparing us to change our cultural narrative to be able to push a normalcy of a draft, a potentiality of a draft for both women and men.
That's what I'm saying. Do you think they're preparing us for another draft? Something is going on. It's not just as simple as, okay, we give in, you know, women are able to be drafted. They can go fight. You know, that's fine, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't seem hippie at all.
It doesn't. It just seems like there's
religion.
something trying to be accomplished, and, you know, we don't know what it is, man. You know, government is shady.
It's something we may never know. Like, the reason as to why.
No, we'll find
We
out
won't.
eventually. Maybe not
We'll never
us,
know.
but maybe our grandkids, they'll know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're like, oh shit, well, they prepped our grandparents for this. Now it's time. We're all going to motherfucking India. We taking over India now. I don't know. Like to say, you know, but it seems like that's the. I don't know. It seems like that's what they're prepping for. If you want to be super conspiratorial.
Yeah, they're definitely getting us prepared for something, man. Who knows? You know, I know one thing. If Ace gets a draft letter and I don't,
Y'all gonna be like, all right, we'll see you when you get back.
I'll be like, yo, can I get your, I'll be like, yo, can I get your TV?
You know what I'm saying? Get the TV, Ace.
Can I hold your TV while you gone?
You know what I'm saying?
For real.
But it wouldn't apply to me, though. Like,
Oh, yeah, you're 18, yeah.
You know, I'm too old now.
I don't know. So this hits me close, like super close home because I have a daughter, and to think, like, I remember why I definitely didn't want to have to register, but I did it, you know, because it was just part of
law.
Yeah, it's the law. But and I was like, you know, if shit goes down, they may draft me. It's some shit that it's in the back of my head, you know.
I never thought about being drafted
I have.
until I read this article. From the time I signed up for selective service
My
until
parents have
now.
always talked to me like, hey, look, you could get drafted when you do this. So just know, because the way I grew up, that just one day they never really wanted to happen. But so I imagine like having to explain that to my daughter. I was like, look, to have to explain that to your daughter. Like, I understand explaining to your son. Kids grow up with action figures, toy soldiers, all these things. We're gonna have to have G.I. Janes now, like Barbie G.I. Janes now, for little girls to grow up with, because there's a possibility that they may have
to kind of psychologically groom them,
prep them,
for
yeah.
you know, to be prepared to.
And it's a weird change, and I personally don't think it's a beneficial change for our culture. Governmentally, I don't give a fuck, like, what the fuck their agenda is. But culturally, for people, for the common middle class American, this is bullshit to me.
I don't have a problem with it as much. I mean, if you're gonna get drafted, you're gonna get drafted. I'm all for equal women's rights. I think a woman can lead a squad of men or be just as effective in a combat situation as a man
But
could.
should they if they don't want to?
They should if it. I mean, well, you can say that about a man. Should a man have to do it if he doesn't want to? I think a woman should.
If it's between him and his wife, I think he would always say, I'll go. I think if it's between a man and his woman, he'll always say, I'll go.
Well, yeah, it depends on how it shakes down, then, because that boils back down to the scenario of,
It's the culture of how you raised.
what if your wife gets the draft letter and you don't, you know?
Right, exactly.
But I mean, if it boils down to it, and a woman has to pick up a gun to defend her country,
She will.
I think I'm all for it. I mean, she can be just as effective.
Like, my argument is not that they can't do it.
And I'm saying that I'm all for it before any kind of drafting or anything has happened. I don't have a daughter, but I definitely feel what you're saying. Because, I mean, say your daughter grows up, she turns 18, she turns 19, gets a draft letter.
It's like a moral.
What the hell?
It's a moral slippery slope. It's one of those things where it's a certain. It comes down to gun regulations, or it comes down to whether or not we should cut welfare. You know, it's a moral slippery slope, and there's certain things that that we have to approach as a country all together and look at it and be like, look, all right, so what can this potentially lead to? And this to me is a red flag as to what can lead our country, all of us, all United States citizens, what can this lead to? This is one of those red flags to me. It's like, all right, they're setting us up for something that's going to be it's a setup.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's hard to trust government. I don't trust these motherfuckers. Yeah, nobody should. Government is controlled in large part by big corporations and business interests. Mm-hmm. They don't have the interest of the common man and the common family, or as this draft law states, the common woman at heart. They have the interest of business interests in mind first. So, if it serves an agenda or a certain political ideology, for the woman to be able to go fight, they're all for it. They don't care. You know what I mean? None of their women are going to go fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So, let these other people go.
Senators' wives are going to have to go fight.
We don't care.
Congressmen's wives are going to have to go fight.
Yeah, man, it's you're right. It's a slippery slope, and we're gonna have to.
No 1%ers' wives are gonna have to go fight.
The main question is, I don't know what this changes in the immediate though.
In the immediate,
maybe you're right. Maybe it's like more of like a cultural change to be indoctrinated more so in the future.
Like initially, dude, we're not gonna have to deal with this until our kids are teenagers.
All our kids are. We're all grown, so it's not gonna affect any of us three here.
It's gonna matter to the people who have daughters now. Mm-hmm. That's what it's gonna matter. If you have a daughter now, she's gonna have to register.
So maybe if she doesn't have any kids.
No, she gotta have kids. Come on,
yeah,
you be a good mom.
But just know they're gonna have to register. You better get her some toy soldiers and action figures and shit. I'm just saying, like, that it's not gonna affect us at all right now. Mm-hmm. Like right now, no. But 20 years.
Yeah, it's kind of weird,
gonna be about.
Who knows?
All I think about is 1984, the George Orwell book. Man, it's just countries in perpetual war against one another, and everybody's fighting, and it's just
this country always is pretty much in a state of perpetual war. War is profitable. It
is, but we lose our democracy in this perpetual war. Like, I don't remember who quoted this, but it said that democracy is not sustainable in perpetual war because things are always going to ramp up.
Bernie Sanders is under the belief that this is no longer a democracy; it's an oligarchy, where top officials and top businessmen receive payouts just for being in their position, where you don't pay poorer people. Like you might have like a CEO of a pharmaceutical company who resigns and he gets a $54 million what they call it, a nest egg to retire. You know what I mean? That's an oligarch state when top officials in your position determines your welfare after you retire or the way that you live the rest of your life. It's no longer democracy. I don't believe it as well. I don't believe that people actually pick. I don't believe that people actually pick top officials in charge.
You don't.
I don't think that we
do.
They business really wanted people and money picks that.
They really wanted the people to choose who would be governing their states and governing their societies and going to the Senate for them and going to Congress. Like, they would have jumped on the internet as a means of reaching out to the people to have people have access.
Because everybody has a voice on the internet.
Vote. Everybody has a voice on the internet. And you can register and you can secure things like this. You can have online banking. You can have online voting. But it's not a thing. They still have people go to ballots way the fuck out of the way into some arbitrary school system in the middle of nowhere near your house. And then they don't have enough polling stations and then say, oh, well, obviously people just don't care enough. How the fuck is that even an excuse? Like, you're obviously not making it reasonably
easier for people to vote.
For people to access these things.
And you want to keep
it in
this
isn't even brought up. It's not even brought up as a consideration. It's not even brought up as a consideration in the mainstream media, which is the first place it should be brought up. It's only brought up on the internet. And I'm kind of mad that Bernie Sanders hasn't said anything about that. I don't know. Bernie Sanders, he's right though. This is not a democracy anymore. I think people have stated it before a bunch of times.
Said capitalism is the death of democracy.
Yeah.
And
you can't make
for the most part, it might be right. I mean, when big business can fund a certain politician's campaign enough to the point where that politician starts promising certain bills or amendments or whatever to these top officials at these corporations. I mean, is it really a democracy? Do the common people really have a voice in the policies or the way the country is ran? I mean, isn't that what a democracy is? That even the smallest man has a voice and a vote.
Like there was a saying back when the Persians were trying to invade Greece, and the Athenians, who were like one of the main first primary democratic societies, the reason they were so slow when trying to fight Persian army that was trying to invade them was that they had to vote on everything, and they had every person's vote, whether it came to generals, whether it came to maneuvers, whether it came to any strategy. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying this is the way we should operate, because we have a way bigger country than the Athenians had at that time. But
that's
the
whole point,
idea is that
officials.
Everybody's voice, everybody had a voice, and even choosing your elected officials, the people voted for their officials, and we a lot of times, like, who's running Virginia right now?
Some guy. Terry McCauley or something. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So it's like, yeah. All I know is I never got a motherfucking memo. I never got a goddamn letter about it. I didn't see a motherfucking picket sign in my neighborhood.
I mean, outside of
you got to go voting, fucking look and search and dig up, turn the fucking ground upside down, and knock on some arbitrary doors of rich white folks in neighborhoods you don't see to be able to vote on anything like this.
Outside of voting, what other way do we have to affect any kind of a political race or an election? Like we only have one way. It's just, in particular, to vote. And those only work in a democratic society, which this is not anymore. I don't know how we got on this from the topic of women being drafted, but it all flowed. It all makes sense.
Intelligent idea talkers.
Intelligent idea talkers.
Hey, we just scratching the surface, man.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, man. I guess
hey,
Boogie. Just so all you guys know, we've all had about half to more than half of a glass of wine each. So. About this last, we've been in here about 3 hours now, I'd say.
Sipping this Moscato right here.
So, yeah, man, but we appreciate everybody listening. If anybody is, we've been getting more and more views.
Yeah, we know y'all listening. We know y'all.
Y'all better be listening. I'm gonna hunt y'all motherfuckers down. You don't listen, man.
Did you listen? You listen?
I'm gonna kick in your door and turn on the Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast on YouTube on your smart TV.
Also, we're about to be on SoundCloud, so look out for us on SoundCloud. Just share, like, comment, like some more, repost.
What all that. So they have to search for Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast or just Intelligent Idea Talkers?
Both of them. If you can't find it under one, find it under the other. Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast and Intelligent Idea Talkers.
Follow us on Twitter at
hashtag IITY, IITY.
Follow us on Twitter at IntellaTalkers, Intella_talkers.
Yeah, you got the Twitter out, right?
Yeah, follow us, man. I gotta get used to Twitter, man. It's like I've never been on Twitter before I started that IntellaTalkers page. Twitter is so freaking weird.
It's a strange world.
It's not like Facebook. Facebook is like clear cut, simple.
Oh yeah, Twitter's popping.
Is it?
Trump is all over Twitter.
I don't do Twitter.
I don't know Twitter either. But we were about to.
Mm-hmm.
I might have to reactivate my Twitter just so I can tweet about our show.
Tweet. You know
what I'm saying?
Next
nice.
We go have an Instagram coming.
I know, right?
Hey,
we should start an Instagram.
If anybody has a photographer, you know what I'm saying? Anybody want to help us out, get some photos, you know what I'm saying?
Look, I was about to say, then we have to buy like an official camera. We can't be taking.
Joe about it like, yo.
Look, we can't be taking cell phone pics trying to post it on Instagram. You know?
Yeah, that's why I ain't seen no pictures.
Well, guys, we appreciate everybody joining us. If you are, man, please keep listening, man. Send us support. Like, subscribe, and comment on the YouTube videos, Twitter, SoundCloud, all that.
Subscribe.
Nice. Well, I guess that's going to take us out for this episode 6, segment 2 of the Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm your host, D.
This is Juice.
I'm Ace. Thanks you guys for having me on the show tonight. Greatly appreciate it. Peace, love, and blessing.
Yeah. It's just so nice to have a woman's voice on the podcast. You know what I mean? It's like a sweetness to it. You know what I mean? It's like when she just said that, I'll be like, oh, you know what I mean? So thanks, Ace. You know. Well, yeah, guys, that's what's up. Catch you guys next time.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.